In today's video, we're traveling from Keflavik, Iceland, from Chicago, Illinois on Icelandair. I'm Mariah, and this is Candid Cami Travels. My journey starts in Naperville, Illinois, a suburb 30 minutes west of Chicago. Instead of leaving my car at the airport, we'll be catching the Metro commuter rail to Union Station for $6.75. After about an hour, I finally make it to Union Station, where I then walk just a few blocks to the Blue Line, which takes me straight to Chicago O'Hare International Airport. A one-way ticket on the Blue Line to the airport costs about $2.50. Once you arrive at the O'Hare station, you can easily follow the crowd until you begin to see the signs directing you to the different terminals. It gets pretty crowded and congested, and everyone seems to be in a rush, so if you're going to walk a little slow, make sure you step to the side, that way you're out of the way of the crowd. Once the crowd disperses a little bit more, you'll start seeing the signs to the different terminals. This is where you really want to pay attention because all terminals are not in the same location. One thing I didn't factor in was the time I spent on public transportation and just walking to the terminal. At the terminal, the check-in attendant verified that my carry-on bag met the airline's allowance. They seemed pretty strict about this rule. Carry-on allowance is 21 by 15 by 7 and no more than 22 pounds. Once it was time to board, there was no specific organization of the boarding after they called for the Saga class. Saga class is sort of their business class. Essentially, you just get in some sort of line. No organization whatsoever. You get your passport verified, your boarding pass scanned, and then they'll take a quick photo. Now that I've made it onto the aircraft, let's get settled in. This is a 6-hour overnight flight, so a pillow and blanket is provided by Icelandair.
Jeanette, we're going on a trip.
Jeanette and I pre-purchased extra legroom seating. That way we could have a little bit more comfort for a 6-hour flight. That's when I started to notice that my seat had less legroom than the middle seat. Be mindful that the pillows are small and the blankets are thin, but it still gets the job done when you're looking for just a little bit of comfort for an overnight flight. Eventually, you'll notice that I move over into the middle seat. It kind of worked out a little bit better. I had more legroom and I wouldn't have to talk over the person in the middle seat just to talk to Jeanette. A plus for this flight was that on the back of each seat, there was a television, so that way we had some in-flight entertainment. And it was free of charge. Another cool feature was that it was playing Icelandic commercials to show you all the things that you can do during your stay in Iceland. Prior to takeoff, the flight attendants did come around making sure that we had all of our shoes on. If you were sitting in the emergency exit, that is a requirement in the emergency exit row. We also had to remove any electronics that we might have had plugged into the TV, as well as remove any items we had stored below the seat in front of us.
Thank you, Dust Storm, for allowing us to be delayed. No AC, but they're giving out water.
So there was a random freak dust storm that blew through Chicago while we were trying to take off. So we did have to sit on the tarmac for a little bit. There was no AC, but they did provide us with some water to drink. So now let's get into the food. So for this airline, you do have to pre-purchase all of your food if you want a meal, which I forgot to do. So I was stuck with the onboard purchases, which included pizza. Which I really can't complain because they did offer more options, but those options have to be purchased 36 hours prior to departure. I don't think I slept a wink on the flight. I think we left at 7:30 p.m. and landed about 1 a.m., which was 6:30 a.m. in Iceland. So I was just up and I'm ready to roll.
It actually feels really good. I think these Midwest girls are going to be okay.
I know.
I was nervous.
I think we'll be good.
I just knew we were going to freeze. Oh, I do like they came out the back of the plane.
Once we deboarded the aircraft, we were at the airport, just not at the airport building. So we did have to board a shuttle bus, and it took us over to the actual airport itself. So it was probably like 4-minute, if that, drive. We did end up having a 10-hour layover in Iceland intentionally, so we did go off-site to go do a few things. That will be posted in another video, so stay tuned. But I do want to finish sharing my experience with Icelandair, so on to the next plane. I wish I would have paid more attention to the types of aircraft that we were on. I'm not sure if they were all the same. They did have the same like 3-to-3 configuration, but this one had USB-C instead of USB connections. And then if you notice on this flight, it's just the USB connection. So honestly, when you're traveling, my rule of thumb is just to have both types of chargers. That way you'll be able to charge your electronic devices. Okay, so we spoke a little bit about having to pre-purchase your meals, but what if you're like me, you forgot to do so? So there is a seat back pocket with the in-flight menu, and it has just a few items on it. Of course, you'll have your snacks, your soft drinks. It had kind of like a charcuterie, pizza, but then there was the taco stew. You know, sometimes on a long flight, you get a little hungry, you're a little cold. So that taco stew, you know, it said it had potatoes and beans, and it sounded really hearty. And so I was so excited for it until I wasn't. And in the flight attendant's defense, like maybe she just didn't put enough water in it. So I asked for more boiling water, let it sit a little bit longer, and nothing really helped. So then I just kind of gave up on the stew. And then I just asked for oatmeal because you can't go wrong with oatmeal, right? So ultimately, my honest recommendation is to pre-purchase your food 30-something hours before your flight is supposed to board, because the in-flight menu is really hit or miss. The oatmeal was actually surprising. It had pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and a few other things I'm not used to having in it. It was honestly good. I asked for some packets of sugar, and it did what it needed to do. It was yummy. So to wrap up the video, I'd like to remind you, if you're flying on Icelandair, double check the size of your carry-on bag, pre-purchase any of your flight meals 36 hours prior to check-in, purchase your seats with extra legroom, and don't forget to bring a USB-C and a USB charger for your phone. This has been another Candid Cami Travels video. If you'd like to see more content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep the content flowing. Until the next video, bye now.